Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Mystical Visions. So, today I wanted to do a spread that is something that I often do for myself as well, and that is a spread about creative block. Now, we all get creative block from time to time. It doesn't matter if you work a creative job or consider yourself creative. The idea of creation is something that we're all familiar with. And so, oftentimes what happens is when you have a creative block, you just simply cannot think. And with it being retrograde season, I figured this would be the perfect time to do a creative block reading. So, as always, I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your cards, but what we're doing differently today is I'm actually using a different deck for each pile. So what I've gone ahead and done is taken out the Sun card from all three decks, which is arguably the most creative card of them all. And I've gone ahead and laid those out for you to pick from. So for pile one, we have the Tarot of the Divine, which was my first ever deck. For pile two, we have the Sun card from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Yep, that's the one. And for pile three, we have the Sun card from the Every Little Thing You Do Is Magic deck. So, today we will take a look at what type of creative block this is, why it's here, what habits you need to change, and any new habits you need to adopt in order to work through this creative block. And it should be a very interesting reading. So, as always, I will go ahead and give you guys some time with these cards. Timestamps for your piles are in the video description. If you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please do remember to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment below how this resonates. And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys at your reading. Pile number one, hello. So you guys picked the Tarot of the Divine deck, which was my first ever deck. And I also want to say that when I was shuffling your cards, they were very decisive and very precise. So they would come out in exactly the number I wanted, and I didn't really have to shuffle for very long. So you guys might be very decisive people. You probably know what you want. Or perhaps this message is something you already know and you're just mostly here for confirmation. But in either case, let's take a look at what this creative block is all about, which these cards will tell us here. So, to start, we have the Five of Wands in reverse. And that is clarified by the Empress. Okay, interesting. And your archetype card is Agape or Agape. I believe it is Agape, but we'll see what the book says. Okay, so just from the tarot cards alone, it almost feels like this isn't necessarily a block that comes from any mental conflict or any issue per se. This is mostly just an upgrade. It feels like a moment of leveling up, and you're currently in the energy of receiving. You know, it could be downloads, it could be abundance with this Empress card here. But in either case, like, do you see how chilled out she is? She's just closed her eyes, minding her own business, and just at peace right now. So whereas this is a conflict card. So I really don't think right now you're going through anything dramatic or, insane or, chaotic or anything like this. I think right now what you're going through is just a natural upgrade, and since it is time for you to receive downloads, to receive energetic upgrades, you're not necessarily in like creation mode, which is about externalizing what's inside you. It's kind of like you're in the reverse energy. But let's take a look at this card here. This is number 72, if that means anything. 72, 27, the number 9. Could be something that you're seeing a lot. Okay. What if instead of putting yourself at the center of spiritual practice, you put God, Goddess, or nature at the center? How would you change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us, and ask for nothing in return. This card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day. What are you elevating? Where does the sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? Service, reverence, honor, joy. Okay. So it does definitely feel like a spiritual upgrade. So it might be that your life is pretty peaceful when you think about it, but also deep down, it almost feels like your mind isn't quite in it. And like you feel a creative block, but it's not like the usual kind that comes from burnout or anything like that. And simply it is a spiritual upgrade. Like that's the creative block there is. Okay. So now that we understand that this is more spiritual than it is anything else really, let's take a look at what this block is, why it's here, perhaps what the upgrade is even. So to start, we have the Queen of Swords, and that is clarified by the Star in reverse. Okay, boundaries. This is definitely the level up you're going through right now is definitely about boundaries. With the Queen of Swords, this is someone who has no issues asserting her needs, cutting out people that do not serve her purpose, cutting out any lifestyle issues that do not serve her highest good. This is someone who knows what she wants and has no problem clearing her own path towards it. The Star, on the other hand, feels a little more innocent, a little more naive. That's the word. It feels a little more optimistic and hopeful, yes, but also maybe a little delusional. And, when it's upright, that's usually a sign to dream and to allow yourself to be a little more whimsical, to allow your mind to wander, to allow yourself to hope for impossible things. But in this context, with the Star being in reverse, it feels like you've spent a lot of your life just naively letting people into your life and allowing them power over you in an attempt to be loved, in an attempt to be seen as easygoing. And right now, your mission in life is to unlearn that habit that you learned as a child, possibly. And we will get to the habits in a second, but it almost feels like a sort of people-pleasing tendency that allowed people to walk all over you, and you convinced yourself that the only reason people are mean to you or people are not nice to you is because you don't allow them to control your life. And so you've allowed people to control your life in the hope that that would make them love you. But now you're realizing that actually I was always lovable. I was just not palatable to everyone because not everyone enjoys their belief systems being challenged. Not everyone enjoys having to think about what they have internalized. Like perhaps you're someone who holds up a mirror to people and they don't like that. And so they made you feel unlovable, convinced you that in order to be accepted in society, in order to be lovable, that you had to allow people to change you so deeply, to transform everything about you until you became one with the image of you that they had in their mind. And now, this spiritual upgrade that you're going through, I feel like you've been working at it for a while now, part one. And you're at the stage now where you've started to unlearn a lot of it. And That's why it's affecting your creativity. So creativity, at least in my experience, is the act of taking what's inside you and projecting it out into the world, right? And in other words, it's a form of giving, right? And as someone who has been giving for forever and not receiving anything in return, you are now starting to learn the opposite, which means you are now ready to receive. And in order to do that, you have to pause giving for a little bit. And so maybe in a way, that's kind of why your creativity is affected by this upgrade, is because it's like the universe is forcing you to sit down and receive, to sit down and consume before you create. Because right now your energy is more necessary to yourself. That's not English. Right now you need your energy more than other people do, because you're essentially rewriting the script in your mind. Okay. Next we have the Emperor. Beautiful. And that's clarified, by the Eight of Cups, the card of walking away. Yeah, you're very much walking away from a lot. But do you see how both these cards have these like swords and weapons? It's like, well, the Emperor is the Aries card, right? It's about going solo. It's about leadership and following what drives you, following your passions. And the Eight of Cups is, of course, walking away from something that you built, even though when you were building it, you loved every part of it. And so the challenge that you're facing right now is reconciling the fact that you loved these people, and so you changed, hoping that they would love you back. But in doing so, you forgot to love yourself. And so now it's about shifting that narrative into, I will love myself so hard that I won't need anyone else to love me. I will love myself so deeply and so profoundly that I will physically alter my life. I will physically rewire my brain and walk away from everything that I thought love was, so I can redefine what love means to me. Right? It's not easy, and it's very much not like just a random task. And this definitely does not feel like a random creative block. This feels like a spiritual upgrade. And right now, what you need is time with yourself, of course, because you don't need external influences telling you exactly what they think about your creative block. Well, it's kind of, okay, it is ironic that I'm an external influence telling you what I think about your creative block, but I'm just channeling, okay? But the point is, you don't need anyone passing judgment about what you're going through, because that's kind of how we got here in the first place, right? So this is very much a time to go inwards, very much a time to go solo and figure out what love is to you, because there's only so much you can give before you start running on fumes. Okay, so right now is a time for you to recalibrate, so that not only are you not giving as much as you used to, but also you are filling up that vacuum with the act of receiving. Okay, so now let's take a look at one habit, or however many want to come out with these cards, that you need to change in order to embrace this upgrade, so that your creative block will dissolve. We have the Knight of Swords, and that is clarified by the Ten of Wands. I think that's pretty clear. The Knight of Swords is someone who is go, 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 constantly mentally engaged. Like this, the whole suit of swords is about your mind, right? About thought, about learning, knowledge, all of that. But you might be someone who almost overburdens yourself with knowledge in order to distract from the weight of all of this, right? So instead of going inwards and facing everything that's, maybe been a challenge in your life, instead of going inwards and healing your ways of thinking that are no longer serving you, you might be someone who buries your head in a book to try and learn something new. You might be someone who watches a lot of tutorials about the most random things. You might watch a lot of spiritual videos, a lot of pick a card readings. And it's like you're trying to overload your brain so that you have no energy left to think about the things that truly matter. It's like, it's a way of spiritual bypassing, which is funny because that's like the reverse meaning of this card over here, is spiritual bypassing. So maybe that's something you do. Maybe you overload yourself with so much information that your mind will be occupied just processing that. And then that way, you don't have to look at the shadows. You don't have to look at the scary bits. You don't have to think about change and, how your life is not where it should be, or where you want it to be, rather. Because with the 10 of Wands, this is someone who has been carrying so much that they've had to give up and they have fallen. And I never got this from this card before, but the fact that it's a skull kind of makes me think no one even noticed that this person had fallen under the weight of the 10 wands they were carrying. And now they're a skeleton and no one's moved their remains to the point where there's a whole entire tree that's grown through it, which would take years, if not decades. So it almost feels like one of the things that might be hurting you is that no one appreciates how hard you work. No one appreciates the things you do for them. It almost feels like you feel a little forgotten, a little overlooked. And instead of recognizing that that's not because you didn't work hard enough, it's simply because either you didn't, you didn't advertise your work enough, or maybe you just worked hard hoping that wouldn't make people love you. And that's kind of not how the world works. But instead of facing all of that, you have intellectual pursuits that you run through. The Knight of Swords is the fastest moving knight of them all. And this is, in this position, it's kind of giving me the vibe of just kind of, imagine there's a 5-book series. You haven't even processed half of the first book and you're already reading book 5. That's kind of the vibe I get. So you're kind of blasting through all these different ideas, these different thoughts, these controversial topics, the news, whatever it is, whatever fuels your addiction to information. It's like you're running through it that quickly because it's not even that you care about the information. It's just that you want to overload your brain with as much new information as possible in a short amount of time so that there's no energy left to process any of this. So that is definitely a habit we need to change, part 1. Now let's take a look at a habit that you might want to adopt. We have the 7 of Cups. Interesting. And that's clarified by the 4 of Swords in reverse. And a habit you want to adopt. The 7 of Cups is about illusions, but more specifically, it's about there are infinite choices in front of you, and you don't know how any one of them is going to turn out. So in this image, he has 7 lamps in front of him. Any one of them could have a genie. All of them could have a genie in it. None of them could have a genie in it. The romance of it is in not knowing where the genie is, if there is a genie, if there isn't a genie at all, if there are 7 genies. Like, that's the fantasy of it is what allures this person, right? Clarified by the Four of Swords in reverse. The Four of Swords upright is the card of rest, relaxation. The battle's been fought. You may have been hurt, you're injured and wounded, and it is time to relax because otherwise you cannot keep going with the fight. I definitely think the habit to adopt is, okay, it's to not allow the allure of how life could be enough. Okay, allow me to rephrase that. I'm having a little trouble putting that into words. Sometimes, instead of actually working through our issues, we might look to a future that it's like a fantasy. We might look to a fantasy of the future and let that be enough to satisfy us into not processing what we have. So say, for instance, someone had just had a fight with a friend, and instead of working through that conflict, instead of coming up with an apology, instead of figuring out a way to communicate to each other, they instead want to spend their time thinking about, I could have a million other friends, and these are all the traits they would all have, and we would never fight, and that's good enough for me, so I don't really care to fix this issue. You know what I mean? So it's like maladaptive daydreaming is not going to help you rest. So it's ironic that both of these kind of come to the same baseline, which is overloading your mind so that you don't have to process, overloading your mind so that there is no rest enough to think about any of these scary things. So what might happen is if you go cold turkey on this information overload, your mind might try to replace that with maladaptive daydreaming or like fantasizing about things as a coping mechanism instead of doing what you actually need to do. Another thing, and this is very, very specific, and this is not me giving any medical advice, just if this is something that's been calling to you, definitely look into it. But with the Seven of Cups, I kind of get like a ADD, ADHD vibe, where it's like so many distractions in front of you, you don't know what to do first. And by the time you pick, your energy is all gone. So if that's something you've been wondering about, if you feel like you're showing symptoms and whatnot, get a diagnosis. That might help a lot. Get help, and it might improve your life considerably, not just, the physical day-to-day, but also your mental state, your energy, your spiritual level, your emotional state, all of that. It can make a huge difference. That's just a specific message. But in either case, daydreaming about a future that may or may not happen as a way to distract from what does actually exist and what does actually need to heal? No. So honestly, it's kind of like 2 habits you need to avoid for you guys. But finally, let's take a look at some advice for you. First, we have Akasha. Your guidance is divinely guided. So if you guys have been getting hits to like follow a certain path, to check out certain resources, that's definitely something you want to do. And as I opened the book, it went to the yes page, and it just, the whole page just says yes, 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 yes. That's the whole page. But let's see, Akasha, page 112. Oh, Nope. There we go. Akasha exists in the fifth dimension and the library of souls. All soul contracts, history, gifts, lessons, and more exist here. We each have access to this information of the past, present, and future and can tap into it at any time. If you're waiting for a sign to proceed, this card is it. You are likely living out an important part of your soul's journey and you are exactly where you need to be. This is very exciting indeed. Hold the card on your heart and say, I open myself up to receive the wisdom of the Akasha. I am ready to download any information from my soul records that is in my highest good and the highest good of all right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Maybe you want to do like a Akashic reading, right? You might want to look at your Akashic records and see what's going on. There's like a bunch of meditations, or you could go to a practitioner and they can help you out. But maybe some of the downloads you're receiving right now come from there, you know? And maybe that's why there's this big creative block. It's because you're downloading transmissions from the Akashic record. So that's something to think about. And then finally we have, the bee spirit. Sweet results await. I love this card. It makes me so happy. Terribly allergic to honey, but I love this card specifically. I don't mind bees. It's the wasps there. Ugh. But anyway, this is card number 7. Bee Spirit. The Bee Spirit's message is that sweet rewards are on their way if you're willing to get your ego out of the way. Bee Spirit knows not to let a sense of being separate get in the way of a good thing. Spirit is always producing honey. Miracles and magic are everywhere. When you connect with the great hive, you are vibrating and buzzing in exquisite harmony with all. Bee Spirit wants you to remember that your part in the divine partnership with the conscious universe is being rewarded, even if you can't see that yet, and ask that you share your good fortune as there is plenty honey for all. Be a part of the larger whole, the force that brings forth all that is sweet and delightful. Beautiful. Yeah, I definitely think you guys are moving to a place where your entire life is going to feel different in a wonderful way. You're going to experience a kind of contentment and harmony in the world that you didn't think was possible. And all of that simply comes from this one upgrade. So it's a very exciting time for you guys for sure. But that's your reading for today, Pile 1. I truly hope it helped. Let me know how this resonated. Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your time and energy with me. If this reading helped, please do remember to like and subscribe. Again, comment below. You can reach out to me via email if you'd like a private reading. Yeah, thanks so much for letting me read for you. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye! Pile number 2, hello. So if you guys picked the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot deck, then welcome to your reading. To me, this deck always feels the most no-nonsense, the most stern of them all. So we might get read to filth a little bit today, but that's okay. I'll be here with you the whole way. So welcome to your reading about your creative block. We're going to take a look at what this block is all about, why it's here, what the lessons are, one habit that you need to let go of in order to release this block, and one new habit that you might want to adopt. And then finally, we'll take a look at some advice for you to work through this creative block. So let's get started. What type of creative block is this? Oh, we have the Tower. Okay, don't panic. Clarified by the High Priestess. Major Arcana. Straight out the gate. And for your archetype card, we have the Healer. This is card number 25. This is 16 and 2. Okay. The Tower, the High Priestess, and the Healer. Yeah, this is a pretty big transformation that you're going through. I think your creative block is something that comes from being built on a shaky foundation. That's what the Tower card is all about, is your foundation was too shaky, the tower you built was not stable, and so it came crashing down. And what's interesting is that it goes all the way down to the High Priestess, which is the second card. So you're going like from card number 16 all the way down to card number 2. And it feels like you're really going right back to basics. You might have to build like from the ground up again. But the High Priestess is about intuition. It's about living in the higher realms, almost being disconnected from the physical world a little bit. But generally in the upright position, she is all about spiritual awareness, about trusting your gut, trusting your inner knowing, your inner voice being very loud. And this creative block could very well be about your life so far has been a little too superficial, a little too earthly, if that makes sense. Like maybe you didn't consider yourself a spiritual person until very recently. And now that you're exploring these things, perhaps it's changing how you create. It's changing how you think. The Healer card is the interesting one here. So this is number 25. The Healer, the Light Worker, the Gifted, the Old Soul. Though some claim the work of the healer as their gift and name it as their dharma, the force of this archetype is within everyone. It is our natural inclination to remember, to return to, and to reclaim that central and eternal life force from which we so easily drift away. The healer's mission then becomes to move through the comfort of forgetting, through the veils of ignorance and denial, to reveal that radiance that already exists. When light, self-contained, grateful, awake, when dark, tired, needy, forgetting its own practice. Yes, okay, yeah, I feel like you guys are going through a pretty big awakening, because I feel like this just really confirmed the message for us of your life so far feeling quite superficial, feeling like you've forgotten the more holistic aspect of it, the more deeply emotional, powerful, magical aspect that life has, the powerful, magical aspect of life. And you may have built your entire life, your entire career even, up on a very superficial foundation, a very shaky foundation. And then something happened that brought it crashing down. And you're starting to now wake up to the reality of, you were not put here just to do purely human things and live in a superficial world. You are now waking up to spiritual dimensions, to new areas of your mind, to new areas of your soul that you are meant to remember right now. Okay, so that kind of feels like what's blocking your creativity right now, because you are no longer able to create from a place of surface level. Like you're no longer creating from superficiality. You are now entering an era where you're about to start creating from a much deeper, much more powerful, more ancient, infinite source. Okay, so what is blocking this creativity? I feel like we've kind of nailed it already, but let's see. We have the Hermit in reverse, clarified by the Two of Swords. Okay, this is interesting. So, pretty straightforward. The Hermit in reverse talks about isolation, about So the Hermit upright talks about chosen isolation, where you step away from the world in order to see it from a higher vantage point so you can understand it better. The Hermit in reverse in this context is kind of telling me that you almost isolated yourself from yourself. Like you refuse to look at your own star that's inside you. Like, do you see how he's carrying the star inside a lantern? It's like you refuse to acknowledge your own gifts, to acknowledge your own power and creativity and optimism and magic. And in doing so, you kind of separated yourself from who you truly are. And that's clarified by the Two of Swords. Now, what's funny is so the Two of Swords usually talks about she doesn't know which sword to pick. So instead of choosing with her eyes, she's put a blindfold on so she can choose intuitively. In this case, I'm almost seeing the opposite imagery here, where instead of trusting her gut to know which sword to pick, she's just going to close her eyes and pick one and then follow it and then be stuck with it. It's like the blockage here, the blockage you've experienced so far, you might not have noticed or you might not have considered it a blockage at all. But what's happening here is your whole life so far has been blocked. That sounds awful. I'm sorry. But what I mean is your whole life so far, you may not have even touched a fraction of your potential to, be who you are. And that's because you kind of put the blindfolds on, just picked a lane and stuck with it and got as far as you could on that lane. But now you're starting to recognize that this is just as far as that road can go. And now you have to pick a different one. Okay, let's see. Next we have the Ace of Swords in reverse. Yep. And that's clarified by Justice. Okay, so many air cards. Well, this is technically an Earth card, which is the Virgo card, but Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which also rules the air sign. So I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of thinking going on here. You might be spending a lot of time trying to mentally break apart the situation and try and understand it with your mind. But Ace of Swords in reverse, clarified by Justice. Ace of Swords is about a new beginning, a new idea coming your way. But that's in reverse, clarified by Justice, which is about balance. And it kind of feels like a new idea is not going to come your way until you've balanced the scales. You've gone so far down the human route and you haven't even explored the more mystical route, the more spiritual route. And now you have to balance it out. Because you've come as far as you could possibly come on just the 3D physical aspect of things. Now, unless you balance it out, there is just no further you can go. It's like, trying to think of an analogy. It's like two roads run parallel to each other and okay, this is a ridiculous analogy, but just go with me. Imagine you have a car and there's two very narrow streets, okay? In order for your car to go all the way, straight ahead, you need these wheels that are on the human road and these wheels that are on the spiritual road to work in tandem. What's happening right now is only your human wheels are turning and the spiritual wheels are not working at all. And so what's going to happen is you're going to reach an unbalanced, tilted position and you cannot go any further. You can't move along your path anymore because now you're just going sideways and just completely off road. in order to balance it out, you have to kind of reverse a little bit, turn, and then bring these wheels up to speed as well, right? And so right now, it's like you're being forced to reverse a little bit, and then you will bring these wheels up to speed, and then you'll be back on track again. I know that's a weird analogy, okay? But that's kind of what I'm getting with this Justice card, which is the Libra card. It's all about balance. It's all about, what's fair and square. And that's kind of what your whole reading feels like. It feels like a wake-up call to be like, you've pushed too far to one end and the pendulum has to swing back. And right now it is starting to just swing away from your current life and swing to the other way. And you might find that you have to go to the other extreme and then back and forth a little bit until you find your balance. And it is also worth remembering that there is no such thing as like a static balance. Like you'll never have the perfect amount of human and spiritual, and then it will stay that way forever. That's just not a thing. You will swing back and forth, but it's in the swinging back and forth that the balance lies. Okay, but in either case, what's blocking your creativity is the fact that your car is just completely misaligned right now. But the good news is we know how to bring it back. So let's now take a look at a habit that you might want to change in order to facilitate this process. So we have the Two of Pentacles. Okay, all right. And that's clarified by the Magician. Okay, you know what? I mean, I love when the cards reiterate themselves, but I'll explain anyway. With the Two of Pentacles is all about juggling. It's about these pentacles are too heavy to carry both at the same time. But if you switch them from hand to hand and keep them in motion all the time, it's a little easier to manage, right? You can carry both of them. The Magician is about manifestation. It is alchemy. It is about using the elements that are around you in order to change reality so you get exactly what you want. Put these two together, a habit you need to change is, first of all, what you might want to do is find that balance like we spoke about, but also it could be that there is so much on your plate right now that it's kind of given you a false sense of control. You might be the kind of person who makes things happen. You're like everyone's go-to for when something needs to get done. You might be like the eldest daughter. You might be the kind of person who takes the initiative, does all the work. If something has to be done, you have to be the one to do it. Otherwise it will never get done, that kind of thing. And it's kind of put you in a position of thinking, well, since I'm the only person who gets things done here, I guess anything I set out to do has to get done, does get done, and that I'm in charge of this entire situation. I'm in charge of life. And that's something we need to stop thinking about, because not only does it put way too much pressure on you, way too much weight on your shoulders, like we see with this Two of Pentacles, it's way too heavy for one person to carry, but it also then limits what you think is possible. The whole point of the Magician card is recognizing that even if it doesn't exist right now, if you believe that it can exist, you will find a way to make it happen. However, if you think that everything you know is all there is in the world, it kind of closes that door to the point where you stop believing in what could be, and therefore you stay stuck in a situation that no longer serves you for way too long. Does that make sense? It's like if my thinking right now is at like a level 50, and I believe 50 is the highest it can ever go, I won't even recognize that level 51 exists, and 55, and 75, and then 90, and 100. Right? But if I convince myself that level 50 is all there is to life, I won't even explore beyond what I think I know. And in order to do that, I have to release control of all of the numbers. I have to stop thinking that all there is all there is. Does that make sense? So one habit to let go of is definitely the illusion of control. And in order to do that, you need to stop putting so much on your plate that you think you're the only person who can get things done. Because these are things we kind of, thought patterns that we kind of pick up without even realizing it, because you wouldn't think control issues would limit your imagination. But if you think about it, if you're the only person who can get things done in your house, in your work, in your community, you will subconsciously convince yourself that you're the only person who gets things done in the universe. And therefore, the universe is limited to what you already know, what you are capable of doing right now. But if you want to go beyond what you are currently doing, you have to think from a much higher perspective. You have to be open to ideas that are grander than your current situation. And in order to do that, you have to let go of the belief that you know how good it could potentially get, because you don't. You want to find out how good it could get, but you can't do that unless you let go of what you already know. Okay? Next, let's take a look at some habits that you might want to adopt in order to facilitate this transformation. We have the Empress in reverse, clarified by the Page of Swords. The Empress in reverse, clarified by the Page of Swords. Get up and go get new information. The Empress is a passive energy. She is creative, but not in the way that the Ace of Wands is, or the Eight of Wands is, in the sense of she creates by gestating. She will sit with the idea knowing that it is being created for her. All she has to do is be present. In reverse, it could be passivity, in that you are simply letting life do whatever it wants to, without any input from yourself. And as we know, it's probably because there's the illusion of control. So it's kind of like a weird paradox of, you think you're controlling life, and therefore you kind of just don't try to do anything differently, because you're like, if it works, it works. The way it's been working this long is all there is, so I might as well just let it keep going the way it is, and hopefully one day something dramatic will happen and then it will change. But like, hello, this is the dramatic, okay? This is what's happening. The drama is you. You are the drama, I'm sorry. But like this dramatic change in perspective, that's divine intervention. It's not going to be like a storm, or like the earth splitting open, or like someone parting the sea or anything. It is a shift in perspective. And the habit you want to adopt is letting go of this passivity and adopting a beginner's mind. Recognizing that what you know so far is only a fraction, a minuscule fraction of the human experience as a whole. And I'm not saying that to invalidate your experience so far or question your authority or expertise or anything like that. What I'm saying is, you only see the world based on the experiences you have so far. And if your experiences so far have been extremely repetitive, there's a very narrow view of the world that you carry with you. And the only way to change that is to leap into action and go out there and find out what there is. Find out what's waiting for you, what you could have. At the very least, do a Google search of what luxury feels like, or what experience or adventure feels like, or what creative expression feels like. Consume more art. Consume things that make you think beyond what's familiar, because that is where the world lies. It lies beyond your comfort zone. But in order to be able to do that, you have to let go of the idea that you're simply at the mercy of situations, you're simply at the mercy of your surroundings, your environment, or that, there's no time, no space, no energy. And I get it, okay? Those are all very valid reasons to not go out there and pursue the life of your dreams. But how long does it take to take a tiny step? How long does it take to maybe watch a movie that is very different to what you usually watch? Even something as small as that can get your brain thinking, because it creates new pathways in your mind. And that's what we need in order to be creative, in order to create better and more powerful pieces, right? That's what we need to add depth to the things that we do, is new pathways in our brain. So a habit to adopt is experiment, explore, adopt a beginner's mind, and you'll find that you're seeing way more possibility than you ever saw before. Okay? So finally, let's take a look at some advice for you. To start, we have get grounded. Empaths, highly sensitives, connect with nature. One thing you might want to do is get out into nature. If that's something you haven't done in a while, I am, of course, going to read this from the book. But, you can try that out if it's been a while. Oh, these cards don't have numbers, and it makes me very upset. So this is card number 66. You are being called to get grounded, to ensure that your luminous field is clear and your inner well is full. If you're not grounded, it is all too easy to get swept up in other people's energy and mistake it for your own. Your boundaries will become blurred as you are absorbing the energies around you and struggling to define what is their stuff and what is yours. It is easy to get swept up in the high-frequency energies that are swirling around the planet. The quickest and most effective way of clearing all of this from your field is to ground yourself by connecting with Mother Earth. Do something to get grounded and connect with the earth. That might help stabilize your energy quite a bit and kind of get rid of this energy of having to do everything for everyone, so that you're able to create some time and space to explore beyond just what you already know. So maybe some time in nature is in order. And we have the elephant spirit in reverse. Learn from the past. Okay, this is card 25. This was card 25 as well. That's interesting. The elephant spirit in reverse. So number 25. Are you feeling uncomfortable with a tradition, custom, or familiar behavior that no longer fits who you are? Do you wish the past could be erased so it could no longer cause you a moment's pain? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to write a different story and alter traditions in ways that acknowledge that we all evolve, for transformation is our nature. Build on the best of the past, learn from the worst, and walk into the future with dignity, accompanied by Elephant Spirit, who remembers the truth and honors your strength and wisdom. So it's not about rejecting where you come from, it's about integrating that into a new way of thinking. Okay, so that's your reading for today, pile 2. That was very interesting. There's a random hair on my desk. That was very interesting, but Yeah, I feel for you guys. You're probably going through something a little crazy right now, but it's okay. You'll get through it. This is an important transformation. But thank you for being here and watching this reading. I hope it helped. If it did, please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments how this resonated for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your energy with me, letting me do this reading for you. You can reach out to me via email for a private reading. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Pile number 3, hello. So if you guys picked the Every Little Thing You Do is Magic tarot deck, then this is your reading all about a creative block that you might be going through. I have to say yours was like the messiest shuffle of them all, so I'm very interested to see what comes out today. But I've gone ahead and shuffled your cards. We're going to start by taking a look at what this block is, why it's here, what it's teaching you, one habit that you might want to let go of in order to work through this block quickly, a habit that you might want to adopt in order to work through this block quickly, and then finally some advice. So it's going to be clean cut. We're going to get through it. Let's go. So what is this creative block all about? To start with, we have the Elder of Wands, which is the King of Wands. And that's clarified by the Hierophant in reverse. Interesting. And your archetype card is the Creator. Oh, wow. Okay. And this is card number 22. So you might be seeing repeating 2s. This is 35 and 5. You might be seeing repeating 5s as well. Okay. The King of Wands with the Hierophant in reverse and the Creator. This block is all about you wanting to change what you create, how you create it, something of that nature. The King of Wands is someone who is quite grounded in his passion, right? Quite confident in what he does, in what drives him, in what pushes him to create, to rule, to learn and grow and evolve, but also not to the point of destruction. Right? It's not like an immature fire. It's a very tamed, very strategic fire. Whereas the Hierophant is about tradition. It's about structure. It's about the way things are done. And to have that in reverse, it tells me that you are rejecting tradition in some way in order to follow your passion. Pile 3, are you letting go of like a structured job in order to pursue something more creative? Or maybe you worked for other people and now you're going freelance or something. Because it definitely feels like rejecting a stable situation and adopting something that isn't impulsive. You know you will be good at doing this, and you know you are committed and have the skills to back up this choice. But perhaps there's fear here that's causing this block because it's not been done before by you. Like, it's one thing to read a bunch of inspirational stories. Oh, someone dropped out of their high-paying CEO job and became an entrepreneur, and now they make billions a month. But it's kind of hard to adopt that story unless it's happened to you directly. And so you might be facing a creative block and ironically feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made this change because now I'm blocked up. But let's see what the book says about this card. This is 22. 27, 25. 22. The Creator. The artist, the alchemist, the innovator. The Creator, the first archetype in the trio of existence, is not intimidated by darkness or by lack. They know that from the void, creation inevitably emerges. With meager, minimal, and outlandish materials, the creator reveals a new image. They make the empty room resonate with healing sounds. They generate bounty from the seed that others tossed away. Though generative, this archetype annihilates preconceived notions of what is possible, leaving unexpected openings in the wake of its destruction. Curious, playful, open, surprising. So, okay. Yeah. It could also be that what you want to pursue is something very different to what people already know. You might have an idea for doing things in a way that no one else has done it before. Particularly with the Hierophant in reverse, it could almost be like a slap in the face of how your industry has been doing things so far. And perhaps that's the scary bit. Like, it's not about, leaving a job and working for yourself. It's about breaking the way things have been done so far. And maybe that's the fear that's keeping you creatively blocked. But this really does feel just like an internal fear. Like something has got you frozen so that you're not physically able to create because of a mental block. But let's see. What is blocking this creativity? We have the Five of Wands in reverse, clarified by the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Straight up, you just don't have enough information. If you're doing something that is so radically new that no one else has done it before, you don't have case studies to learn from. You don't have competition to one up. You don't have any information to bounce off of, right? The Five of Wands upright is people trying to fight for all of the wands. They don't want to let go of it. And like you can see, there's 5 dogs here. They all want all of the sticks, but they refuse to let go of them. And the Two of Pentacles is about balance. It's about carrying a weight that is too heavy to carry, so you juggle it in order to make it a little more manageable. And both of these require there to be wands and pentacles here, right? In order for these cards to function. For both of them to come out in reverse kind of tells me that one big reason why you feel blocked, one big reason why you feel this fear is because you just don't have information. No one's done what you do, and that makes sense because it's so brand new. Why is someone hammering in the middle of the night? It's literally 11:15 p.m. This place is active. But Two of Pentacles and Five of Wands both in reverse. There is no precedent for what you do. So you can't know for sure how it's going to go. You can't know for sure where the pitfalls lie. You can't know where the blind spots are because no one has done it before. And so of course that creates tension. Of course that creates fears. Like, it's completely valid that you feel the way that you feel because you're the first person to do it, right? Next we have the Seven of Pentacles. Yep. And that's clarified by the Elder of Pentacles. What's interesting is this is the Seven of Pentacles, which is card 70, and this is card 77. So lots of repeating numbers. 22, we had repeating 5s, we have repeating 7s. Anyway, the Seven of Pentacles is the card of investment. This is someone who is watering their seeds, knowing that one day it will pay dividends. Right? And didn't this also say maybe you work with like gardening or something? Because this spoke about watering seeds that other people threw away as well. Maybe this is an idea that you've picked up that people thought was impossible to do, and you've found a way to make it possible, but you're just not ready or not quite sure how to maybe scale it up, or maybe you don't even know how to make it possible, but it's just something you feel very passionately about. That's clarified by the Elder of Pentacles. This is the King of Pentacles, right? Lots of king energy. the most stable of all of the minor arcana. This is an unshakable card. This is someone who knows their money, knows their worth, goes out there, gets the job done, doesn't doubt for a second that they are abundant. This is someone who is confident in their success. So the creative block could also be that you know that you won't see results immediately. You know that the success will be long term, right? But another fear then is, how do I sustain the momentum while we wait for the success to come in? This feels like a big project, and it truly feels like something that could change the way an entire industry works, Pal 3. Like, you guys are onto something pretty magnificent that if you can find a way to make it happen, you would create history. But what's blocking you is trying to figure out how you can bridge the gap between the 7 and the King of Pentacles, where it's like, okay, you water the seeds, then you put the work in, you tend to the plant, then you reap the rewards, and you build a house, you build a business, you build abundance, you put systems in place so that the money does nothing but grow, and then you get to this place of being completely financially stable. But you've come this far. You've come to the point of investing, of knowing that the seeds you're planting will bear fruit. It's just about faith. And faith is the tough one, because you never need faith when things are going well. You only need faith when things are murky, when you don't know what's going on, when things are chaotic. Maybe that's why your cards were going all over the place, is because you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know how you're going to get there. And so maybe that's what's causing this creative block. But what I want you to hold on to is understanding that your success is inevitable. You are getting here because you know that you've done the work, you know that you've planted the seeds, and that the seeds you've planted are good. And when you're able to cultivate that faith, it almost won't even matter how long it takes for your harvest to come, because you'll know that you've done a good job and that the universe is endlessly abundant and it will provide. It will sustain you until you can sustain yourself. That is inevitable. It is simply about having the faith in the meantime. Okay, let's take a look at one habit that you might want to change or let go of in order to work through this block. We have the Devil, and that's clarified by the Champion of Cups in reverse, which is the Knight of Cups. Interesting. So the Devil is the Capricorn card, which is all about commitment, success, practicality, work, the Saturn influence. But the Devil itself is about contracts. It's about karmic commitments that we make to, each other as souls, and to play out certain ways of being, feeling, thinking, that kind of thing. What's interesting is that there's a giant pair of scissors here, and that, to me, feels like breaking a cycle, but it hasn't been broken yet. With the Champion of Cups in reverse, the Champion or the Knight of Cups upright is about emotional expression. It's usually a knight who has a cup of love, who is on their way to give it to someone. And to have that in reverse perhaps something you want to let go of or something you want to change is holding your cards too close to your chest. You might find that in sharing how you feel, in sharing your process of building an initiative from the ground up, you might find that it brings you success. Now, obviously, I'm not saying, share your trade secrets and that kind of thing. Of course not. Be very careful with that kind of thing. But there might be some value in finding like-minded people, finding a community of other people who are starting out as well and building together. Because this karmic contract, this karmic issue here almost feels like isolation. This feeling of you're doing everything all by yourself. There's no one to help. There's no one to create the path for you to follow. It's like you're leading the way. And that completely makes sense because you quite literally are. But that can also be very isolating. And the more you shut people out, the harder it's going to be. And so it might be worth finding other people who are doing this in their own industries, perhaps where there is no conflict of interest. That might make it easier. And swapping notes about, how you stay motivated, how you keep going even when things feel boring and routine and like there's no results yet, but one day there will be, and that kind of thing. It might be worth building a community or joining a community of other people who are in this position as well, where there is no precedent, where they don't really know whom to reach out to for help. And that might make the world of a difference. So the habit to change is self-isolation, is thinking that you have to do everything by yourself, or that, there will never be anyone who understands what it's like to be who you are, because there are so many people out there who are breaking barriers every single day. It's just about reaching out and finding them. Next, let's take a look at a habit that you might want to adopt. We have the Four of Wands in reverse. Interesting. Clarified by the Oracle or the Queen of Wands. Okay. The Four of Wands in reverse, clarified by the Queen of Wands. What is a habit you want to adopt? Okay. A habit you want to adopt is to celebrate every small win. Every small step that you take to work towards your goal, celebrate it. The Four of Wands upright is usually the card of big dramatic celebrations like weddings, a bunch of people getting together to celebrate a grand event. Whereas the Queen of Wands is someone who dances to the beat of her own drum. She is the counterpart to the King of Wands here. And it's interesting that these two are starting and ending your reading today. But this is someone who doesn't need a reason to be passionate, to be creating, to be excited. And whereas the Four of Wands is very much like we are all gathered here today to celebrate the love of blah, blah, blah. It is a very traditional gathering. And that's interesting as well, that this talked about tradition as well. So one new habit you might want to adopt is to not maybe don't see milestones the way other people see milestones. So you don't have to wait to, reach 100K followers on social media in order to feel like celebration is valid. What you need to do is celebrate your first 100, and then your next 100, and then your next 200. Stuff like that, where Even if it is a tiny incremental step, if you can celebrate it, if you can find joy in it, it will allow your mind to find more opportunities to celebrate and therefore create more reasons to celebrate, right? It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You set the path. You decide what success means to you. Isn't that the whole point of going solo? Isn't that the whole point of trying to restructure industry so that you are no longer bound by the same routines as everyone else's? You want to redefine what happiness and success and joy look like to you. And part of that is redefining what you celebrate. And so instead of waiting for like a big dramatic moment, a big dramatic number in order to celebrate, you can decide what is worth celebrating. Even if it is just something as small as, hey, I got my first client. That's huge. That is huge. You went from 0 to 1. That's an infinite % growth. It is huge. So finding little things to celebrate will allow you to bring in much larger things to celebrate. So that's definitely a habit you want to adopt. Okay. Finally, let's take a look at some advice for you. To start, we have Soul Family. Call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. What? Hello? Like, that's kind of what we just looked at. Okay. Let's see what the book says. Again, this is not numbered, so it takes me a while to find the right page. So this is page 80. Call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. It is time to call in your soul family and support team. People who get you at soul level. People who are the same kind of weird as you. People who are your chosen family. They are coming and they are looking for you. If you haven't found them yet, this is a sign that they are close by. But in order for them to find you and recognize you when they do, it is important that you stop dimming your light and truly let yourself be seen. If you have already found them, then you are being called to let them support you and perhaps also assemble a wider support team. Your support team can consist of all types of people, such as a therapist, coach, mentor, or healer. Tune into what kind of support you need right now. So one thing to consider is, where can you allow yourself to be supported by other people? Like the book said, it could also be someone like a coach, a therapist, a gym trainer, someone who takes a personal interest in your growth. Because that will take a lot of the pressure off of you to do all the thinking, so that you are free then to think about how you can grow and adapt to a changing industry, all of that kind of thing. So figure out how you need to be supported and go out and get that support, because it will improve your life dramatically. And finally, we have the Beaver Spirit. Lay a solid foundation. That's that 7 of Pentacles energy. But this is card number 6. Where are you? Okay. Let's see. That's too far. 8. Oh my goodness. Number 6. Okay, there we are, finally. Beaver Spirit is here to tell you about a power within you that is born of spirit, the source from which all life arises. This is the power to establish the sacred connection with the universal consciousness and co-create the world you desire. Know that it takes work to lay a solid foundation for your dreams. If, with Spirit as your partner, you bring the twigs and branches of your intentions and desires and spread them across the river of time, you'll be amazed at what you can do. Keep your intention and energy consistent and deliberate, using all your resources and the energy of this wonderful, productive time. Spirit is your partner, helping you along as you change the course of your life in the way your heart desires. Beautiful. So yeah, I think the core message here is you really don't have to do it alone. And even if you don't have like a human support team, you can always reach out to your spiritual support team and allow them to guide the way for you to change things in this industry. So very interesting, Pal 3. Let me know in the comments what you're doing, what you're about to do, because wow, this feels like massive energy. This feels like, you will change the way an entire generation sees things. Like, pretty big stuff. So that's your reading for today. I hope it resonated and brought you some clarity. If it did, please remember to like and subscribe, and definitely comment below, because I really want to know what you do, Pal 3. Very interesting stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time and energy with me and letting me do this reading for you. I really, really hope it helped, and I've really enjoyed basking in your energy for a little bit as well. You can reach out to me via email for a personal reading if you'd like to, or just stick around to the outro just after this for another reading on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.